Grade 9 chapter in the Kingdom of Fools. This chapter has been penned by A.K. Ramanujan. It is a humorous story. The story is a folk tale. Folktale is a story which is passed on from one generation to another. It is taken from the book Folk Tales from India, written by A.K. Ramanujan. A.K. Ramanujan was a playwright and a renowned author. Being a renowned author, he has penned many stories. This is the humorous but meaningful story. Let us read the story and learn what is the moral that is conveyed through the story. It is believed that fools are so dangerous that only very wise people can manage them. Who are the fools in this story and what happens to them? In the kingdom of fools, both the king and the ministers were idiots. Idiot here means not very intelligent. They did not want to run things like other kings, so they decided to change night into day and day into night. They ordered that everyone should be awake at night, till their fields, and run their businesses only after dark, and go to bed as soon as the sun came up. Anyone who disobeyed would be punished with death. The people did as they were told for fear of death. The king and the minister were delighted at the success of their project. One day, a guru and his disciple arrived in the city. It was a beautiful city. It was broad daylight, but there was no one about. Everyone was asleep, not a mouse stirring. Even the kettles were taught to sleep at night. So, this is how the king and his minister did not want to run their kingdom like other kings did. And this was something strange and unusual that was experienced by the guru and the disciple. Later on, the guru and the disciple who wandered around till evening noticed that things were a bit different. The two strangers were amazed by what they saw around them and wandered around for long, when suddenly the whole town woke up and went about its nightly business. They were surprised to see that the people in the city woke up at night and started opening their shops and started doing their household chores and run their business. And farmers used to till their fields at night as well. The two men were hungry. Now that the shops were open, they went to buy some groceries. To their astonishment, they found that everything cost the same. A single doodoo. Doodoo was the currency. Whether they bought a measure of rice or a bunch of bananas, it cost a doodoo. The guru and his disciple were delighted. They had never heard of anything like this. They could buy all the food they wanted for a rupee. So, to their astonishment, it was like they did not find anything to be expensive. Everything they asked for cost them a doodoo, and they were excited to buy more. So this is how they wandered around to buy the grocery and get the things at very reasonable rates. When they had cooked and eaten, Now they bought the grocery, they went back, they cooked some food, and felt happy that everything was too very affordable. The Guru realized that this was a kingdom of fools and it wouldn't be a good idea for them to stay there. This is no place for us. Let's go, he said to his disciple. But the disciple didn't want to leave the place. Everything was cheap here, and all he wanted was good, cheap food. And this is why he was not ready to listen to the Guru and go along with him. Things were a bit different when the Guru realized that it was a kingdom of fools and they shouldn't live there. Disciple who did not agree made the things more confusing. So Guru, who was helpless to convince the disciple, told him that he would allow him to do whatever he pleased to do. But the Guru would leave the place immediately. He advised the disciple that they were all fools and this won't last for long, and he can't tell what they will do to him. That is what the king and his minister would do to the disciple next was not very much clear. But the disciple wouldn't listen to the Guru's wisdom and he wanted to stay there, so he was adamant. The disciple stayed on, ate his fill every day bananas, ghee, and rice, and wheat, and grew fat like a street side sacred bull. One day, an incident took place. It was a bright day, and the thief broke into a rich merchant's house. He had made a hole in the wall and sneaked in. And as he was carrying out his loot, the wall of the old house collapsed on his head and killed him on the spot. So his brother ran to the king and complained, Your Highness, when my brother was pursuing his ancient trade, a wall fell on him and killed him. This merchant is to blame. He should have built a good, strong wall. You must punish the wrongdoer and compensate the family for the injustice or for this injustice. The king said, Justice will be done. Now, the king was not aware about what had happened and why that person had died, but he stated that the justice would be done for sure. And he asked the speaker not to worry much about it. And then at once he summoned the owner of the house. As the king was not wise, he did not think about what was right and what was wrong, and immediately he summoned the owner of the house. When the merchant arrived, the king questioned him, What's your name? Such and such, Your Highness, he stated. Were you at home when the dead man burgled your house? Yes, my lord. He broke in and the wall was weak. It fell on him. The accused pleads guilty. Your wall killed this man's brother. You have murdered a man. You have to punish yourself for the same, he said. As you are guilty, the king told the owner, we have to punish you. The owner was now afraid. He said, Lord, said the helpless merchant, I didn't put up the wall. It's really the fault of the man who built the wall. He didn't build it right. You should punish him. Who is that? The king asked. My lord, this wall was built in my father's time. I know the man. He is an old man now. He lives nearby. So, this is how the owner blamed somebody else. And that old man was brought in the court. The king sent out messengers to bring in the bricklayer who had built the wall. They brought him, tied hand and foot. You there, did you build this man's wall in his father's time? Yes, my lord, I did. What kind of a wall is this that you built? It has fallen on a poor man and killed him. You have murdered him. You have to punish yourself for the same. Let us punish you, the king said. The old man was very frightened. He was scared and he could not utter a word. But the king continued that we have to punish you by death. Before the king could order the execution, the poor bricklayer pleaded, please listen to me before you give your orders. It's true, I built this wall and it was no good, but that was because my mind was not on it. The old bricklayer fabricated the story. I remember very well a dancing girl who was going up and down that street all day with her anklets jingling, and I couldn't keep my eyes or my mind on the wall I was building. This is what he said that he was distracted for. He was distracted by the lady who was a dancer, he said. You must get the dancing girl. I know where she lives, the old bricklayer said. So, this is how the story continues. The poor bricklayer who pleaded and asked the king to listen to him blamed the girl for wearing the anklets that were jingling and distracting the old bricklayer. The dancing girl now was an old woman. She came trembling to the court. She was afraid. She did not know what was going on. Did you walk up and down that street many years ago while the poor man was building a wall? Did you see him? The king asked. Yes, my lord, I remember it very well, she said. So you did walk up and down with your anklets jingling. You were young and you distracted him. So he built a bed wall. So the king blamed the girl, who was now an old woman, for distracting the old bricklayer when he was building the wall. It has fallen on a poor burglar and killed him. You have killed an innocent man, the king said. You will have to be punished. Now the old lady stood there for a while. She thought for a minute and said, my lord, wait. I know now why I was walking up and down that street. I had given some gold to the goldsmith, she said. So this is how she continued with the story. She was clueless about what she should do to have a great escape. So she continued. I had given some gold to the goldsmith to make some jewelry for me, she said. He was a lazy scoundrel. He made so many excuses, said he would give it now and he would give it then, and so on all day. So she is blaming the goldsmith for not arranging for her jewelry on time. He made me walk up and down to his house a dozen times. That was when the bricklayer saw me. It's not my fault, my lord. It's the it's the fault of the bricklayer and the goldsmith. My lord, It is the damn goldsmith's fault, she concluded. Poor thing, she's absolutely right, thought the king. Weighing the incident and the evidence, he continued. We have got the real culprit at last, he said. Get the goldsmith wherever he is hiding at once. So the king ordered the men to get the goldsmith, who was now held guilty for killing the burglar. The king's bailiffs searched for the goldsmith, who was hiding in a corner of his shop. When he heard the accusation against him, he had his own story to tell. So, this is how Goldsmith added to the story. He wanted to prove himself to be innocent, and this is how the story goes on. And the king is clueless about what is going on. He is just asking his men to get one or the other person to be blamed, and he is ready to punish whosoever is found to be guilty. My lord, he said, I am a poor goldsmith. It's true, I made this dancer come many times to my door. I gave her excuses because I couldn't finish making her jewelry before I finished the rich merchant's orders. They had a wedding coming and they wouldn't wait. You know how impatient rich men are. So, this is how the goldsmith blamed the merchant for making him hurry to prepare their jewelry. Who is that rich merchant? Who kept you from finishing this poor woman's jewelry? Made her walk up and down? The king asked. He was upset that the goldsmith had distracted and disturbed other people and had made a mess of the wall of the house. The goldsmith named the merchant, and he was none other than the original owner of the house whose wall had fallen. Now justice had come full circle, thought the king. Back to the merchant. When he was rudely summoned back to the court, he arrived crying. It wasn't me, but my father who ordered the jewelry, he said. He has died, and I am innocent. This what the owner of the house pleaded the king. But the king consulted his minister and ruled decisively. It's true your father is the true murderer. He is dead, but somebody must be punished in his place. You have inherited everything from that criminal father of yours, his riches as well as his sins. And this is why the king wanted to punish the merchant, because his father was to be blamed for the poor person's murder. That is the burglar's murder. Everything was hinting the king. At first, it was the owner of the house, then the bricklayer. The bricklayer blamed the dancing girl, and now the dancing girl held the goldsmith responsible. The goldsmith had a safe escape. He blamed the owner of the house, who was a merchant. And this is how the king decided to punish the merchant for the crime that he thought his father would have committed. Things are very much clear. The king thought to execute the owner of the house. But the king consulted his minister and ruled decisively. He ordered a new stake to be made ready for the execution. As the servants sharpened and the stake was prepared, the servants did sharpen the stake and got it ready for the final impaling of the criminal. It occurred to the minister that the rich minister who was there to help the king decided to held the rich merchant guilty. And so, this is how the rich merchant was somehow too thin to be properly executed on the stake, he thought. He appealed to the king's common sense. The king too worried about it. Okay, so the minister told the king that the stake was ready and they should execute the merchant. The rich merchant was too thin to be properly executed on the stake. So he appealed to the king's common sense that the king too should worry about it, that this rich merchant would not be hanged till death. What shall we do? He said, when suddenly it struck him that all they needed to do was to find a man fat enough to fit the stake. So, this is where the humor lies. The servants were immediately sent all over the town looking for a man who would fit the stake. And their eyes, that is, the king's men and servants who were looking for the fat men, their eyes fell on the disciple who had fattened himself for months on bananas, rice, wheat, and ghee. What have I done wrong? I'm innocent. I'm a sannyasi, he cried. That may be true, but it is the royal decree that we should find a man fat enough to fit the stake, they say, and carried him to the place of execution. So, this is how the disciple was carried to the place of execution. He remembered his wise guru's words. This is a city of fools. Now, the disciple realized the mistake. He thought that he had made the big mistake. The guru saw everything in a vision. He had magic powers. He could see far and he could see the future as he could see the present and the past as well. He arrived at once to save his disciple who had got himself into such a scrap through love of food. So the Guru arrived at the place to help his disciple. As soon as he arrived, he scolded the disciple and told him something in a whisper. Then he went to the king and addressed him. O wisest of kings, who is greater, the guru or the disciple? Of course, the guru, no doubt about it. Why do you ask? Then put me to the stake first. Put my disciple to death after me, the guru said. So, this is how the guru, who knew that the king was a fool, started fooling him. He thought that if he would play with the words, the king would change his decision. When the disciple heard this, he understood and began to clamor. Me first. He brought me here first. Put me to death first, not him. If you read the list of names of people who have been tried in the king's court, then you will know that there were many. But here we are talking about the guru who saw everything in his vision and is there to help his disciple. The guru and the disciple now got into a fight about who should go first. The king was puzzled by this behavior. He asked the Guru, "Why do you want to die?" "We chose him because we needed a fat man for the stake." "You shouldn't ask me such questions. Put me to death first," replied the Guru. To resolve this mystery, the king thought for a while. The king gave him his solemn word. The Guru took him aside out of the servant's earshot and whispered to him, "Do you know why we want to die right now, the two of us? We have been all over the world, but we have never found a city like this or a king like you. That stake is the stake of God of justice. It's new. It has never had a criminal on it, and whoever dies on it first will be reborn as the king of this country." Now the king was excited to know more about it. The Guru added, "And whosoever goes next will be the future minister of this country." He added, "We are sick of our ascetic life. It would be nice to enjoy ourselves as king and minister for a while. Now keep your word, my lord, and put us to death. Me first, remember," the Guru said. The king was now thrown into deep thought. He didn't want to lose the kingdom to someone else in the next round of life. He needed time, so he ordered the execution postponed to the next day and talked in secret with his minister. "It is not right for us to give over the kingdom to others in the next life. Let's go on the stake ourselves and we will be reborn as king and minister again." "Holy men do not tell lies," he said, and the minister agreed. So he told the executioners, "We will send the criminals tonight. When the first man comes to you, put him to death first. Then do the same to the second man. And those are my orders. Don't make any mistake," the king ordered the executioners. That night, the king and his minister went secretly to the prison, released the Guru and the disciple, disguised themselves, and the two were released. Who? The minister and the king released the Guru and the disciple from the prison, and they went to be executed. And as arranged beforehand with royal servants, they were taken to the stake and promptly executed. So, this is how we learn that the king was a fool and he convinced his minister to be held to death. And this is how they end up their life. Now the city was in confusion. All night they mourned and discussed the future of the kingdom. The people suddenly thought of the Guru and the disciple and caught up with them as they were preparing to leave the town unnoticed. "We people need a king and a minister," they said, and this is how the Guru and the disciples agreed to what the people say. And they finally agreed to rule the kingdom of the foolish king and the silly minister on the condition that they could change all the old laws. So, this is the Kannada folk tale from A.K. Ramanujan, and this story is from the folk tales from India. Hope you have enjoyed the interesting story. Read the story and try to draw the character sketch of the Guru and the disciple. Have a quick recap of what we have discussed in the session. There were many people who have been held responsible and